Oh, hello everybody. The 904 is hopping yet again. As you know, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they were already looking for a head coach, but now they are looking for a general manager. I'm Chris Porter. Welcome to Porter's Place. Long overdue. I'm sure many Jaguar fans are saying that. We received word not that long ago the Jacksonville Jaguars are parting ways with general manager Trent Baalke. The Jaguars now in week 3, or is this week 2 of the coaching search? It's been going on for a while. Trent Baalke, as you know, has been the GM of the Jacksonville Jaguars, or had been since November of 2020 when they fired Dave Caldwell. Many people thought that when they fired Doug Peterson the Monday after the regular season came to a close, that they would also fire Trent Baalke as well. That did not happen. Shad Khan said a couple of things. One thing he said was he felt like there was no need to fire Trent Baalke based on the body of work that he had done as far as personnel is concerned, saying that to fire Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke, and this was the Monday after the regular season came to a close, would be it would not be a good choice. Then he went on to address the issues that many knew that the Jacksonville Jaguars would have in their search for a new head coach. You would have coaches who would not want to work with Trent Baalke. Case example, or the best example, is Ben Johnson, who is now the new head coach of the Chicago Bears. When this search for the Jaguars first started, we knew Ben Johnson based on his name being in the hat last season, that he had said he wanted kind of that Sean McVay thing where he would be able to have a say in who his general manager would be. That did not happen. And many people do believe that because the Jacksonville Jaguars hung on to Trent Baalke, the best candidates are off the board. Now let's take a look at the statement from Jaguars owner Shad Khan about the two sides parting ways. And this is what he said in part: following several discussions with Trent Baalke this week, we both arrived at the conclusion that it is in our mutual best interests to respectfully separate effective immediately. And again, that was part of the statement from Jaguars owner Shad Khan not that long ago. So now, what do we go on from here? Well, A, we got to still search for a head coach. B, we've got to now find a general manager. Let's go back to some developments from earlier today that I really believe, and I have not talked to anyone in the Jaguars organization, was the final straw that broke the camel's back. Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he said, you know what? I am going to turn down the opportunity to be a head coach of an NFL team. I'm going to return to Tampa and be the offensive coordinator. Now, we know they gave him, it's been reported that Tampa Bay is paying him swell to return. But who do you know has an opportunity to coach in the NFL? Only 32 of these jobs has the opportunity to coach in the NFL, but says, you know what? Nah, I don't want the job. For me, that is an indictment on Shad Khan and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Thus, because we already knew the top candidates, once Ben Johnson left, that was the one everybody wanted, it was going to be a domino effect. Things were going to move quickly. We also knew heading into this week, they had 3 guys that they are bringing back in for third or second interviews. Pardon me, Robert Saleh was one of those guys. Patrick Graham was one of those guys. Liam Cohen was another one of those guys. He said thanks, but no thanks. As I said, he's headed back to the Buccaneers. And we're also being told that the New York Jets, they are going to make Aaron Glenn their next head football coach. So you got to believe that the Jaguars deciding to keep Trent Baalke played a major role in the top candidates not wanting to come to the 904 and have the opportunity to do what 2 other coaches have not been able to do, and that is to develop Trevor Lawrence. He is the centerpiece, I can assure you, of all of this. And if he's supposed to be that generational quarterback, as Jaguar fans are hoping he's going to be, but his record and his numbers have not proved up to this point, even though he has the $275 million, hey, we'll just have to wait and see. Now, I want to take you back to the Monday that it was announced that Doug Peterson was fired, that the Jaguars had fired him as the head coach. And one of the biggest questions from that day was, do you believe one of the top candidates would accept this job with Trent Baalke being the general manager? Here's what Shad Khan had to say.
My response would be, how would you improve it? And then if it is credible, you want to do it, okay? So how does a structure work? I mean, I just want to make sure that this isn't about ego or power or, something more sinister, quite frankly. There have been some of those elements that I've found, in my experience in the NFL. I mean, if it's a legit effort to get better, then everything, should be on the table.
So, this is not about ego or power. If I am a candidate that you want me to come in and you're going to burden me with the responsibilities of turning around an organization that has not had much success at all under Shad Khan, I'm not leaving my ego at the door because you want me. And based on your record and based on how confident I am, and I don't know of anyone who's uberly talented that doesn't have an ego. Number two, I do want the power. I do want the say, because you've proven time and time again that you guys don't have the right formula to get this thing done. Okay, you're number one with Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence's second year here in the 904. We win the division. We go to the playoffs. Then that next year, we start 8-3, and then we have the debacle, and we really didn't recover after the 2023 season. Let me say this. Shad Khan made a terrible decision from the beginning of deciding to retain Trent Baalke. I firmly believe that when you have a problem, to fix a problem, you can't get rid of some of the problem. You have to get rid of all of the problem. And let's just be 100. Even the year after he fired Urban Meyer, before the 2022 season, when we won the division and we made it to the divisional rounds of the playoffs, even heading into that season, Jaguar Nation wanted Baalke out. He's never been a guy that this fan base has been a fan of. And then for Khan to even waste his time, to even put this organization in the position to not be able to possibly get the guy that many think is the best candidate in this current coaching search, to allow him to get away, that's bad business. We can't have that. So what did he charge Baalke to do? Well, he was or so he thought he was in charge of hiring his third coach since he's been the Jacksonville Jaguars GM. And many people, they were really upset with Baalke when you talk about what happened in free agency this past year. Gabe Davis, we picked him up. Eric Armstead, we picked him up. Both of them came to Jacksonville not 100%. Both of them battled injuries. People calling this last free agent class of Trent Baalke's one of the worst in franchise's history. And even with that said, Trent Baalke had to be the guy that had Shad Khan believing at the beginning of the 2024 season that this was the best roster ever assembled. Well, I guess now we know that Trent Baalke, I'm not going to say he didn't have a clue. He just had it all wrong. I want to bring in two of my colleagues, Shaz Pirani and Ashley Gonzalez, who, like myself, spent a lot of time covering our Jacksonville Jaguars. Ashley Gonzalez, we'll start with you. It was interesting that when they fired Doug Peterson, remember you discussed about, for the first time, you heard the players saying, it's been a while since things have been going wrong. I know at that time they were blaming it all on Peterson, but do you believe, too, the players were frustrated with the GM?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you can tell in the locker room the day after that, or that was actually the morning that Doug Peterson was fired, there was actually frustration and division, I think, a little bit in the locker room. And it's just funny to think, flash forward to now, full circle moment, Trent Baalke fired. Everybody is in paradise right now in Jacksonville. All of these comments on Instagram are just crazy. And you can't help but think, I wonder how the Jags are feeling right now. And honestly, it's probably a lot of relief. I mean, Shaz, you know as well, and Chris, you too. I mean, Baalke is at a lot of practices. I don't know. It's just, it's a little different. So like I said, you can't help but think, what are the Jags thinking? And it's probably some relief.
Charles Perrone, I'm going to say this. Many have questioned even when when Shad Khan decided to fire Doug Peterson, many question who is he leaning on? Who is he listening to? And I don't think that noise is going to go away now when you think about the fact that Trent Baalke was a part of the problem, and now after the best candidates are off of the board, many think you fire him?
A little too late. And this is not AEW. You can't script things here, right? You have to get from the jump. You lose the best 3 candidates, it's a little too late. Yeah, we have all this noise now, we're excited. But this is just too late. Who are you going to go get now? An OC denying a head coaching job, something you don't hear often. You want to make progress in your career. And we're in Jacksonville. That's Tampa. It's not a far drive. It's not like you're going into the Buffalo or crazy weather. It says a lot. And the Jets are an organization, Chris, that we've seen have a lot of turmoil over the years. A guy like Aaron Glenn is going to go there and turn down the job here. That says something about the organization and the way things are run. Yeah, we haven't really gotten to speak with the Jags themselves, but we've seen a lot of rumors on Twitter from Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport, guys that have sources that say a lot of these head coaches didn't like the way things are being run. So who is Shad leaning on, right? When we got those questions to him earlier when Doug was fired, he wasn't really telling us who he's leaning on. He's like, that's for me to decide. I'll have my people, but it's about time we figure out who he's leaning on and what his decision-making process really is, Chris, because like this, who's going to want to come in here? It's going to have to change. Baalke, 9 of 38 picks are for starters. 9 of 38, that's it. That speaks volume. And if there's this one full screen I saw that said, of the head coaches Baalke had fired, 2 years, fired. This starts from San Francisco. This is nothing new. And for Shad to finally see this after the best candidates are off the board, we're a little too late, Chris.
Yeah, we are a little too late. And I will say this, if you're going to try to find a silver lining, I guess you could say, in all of this, Aaron Glenn going to the New York Jets, not surprising with his history with that organization. Now, let's throw out the 10 guys. When this process all started, we knew that the Jacksonville Jaguars requested and was granted permission to talk to. You're looking at Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, you're looking at Cohen, you look at Robert Saleh, who we don't know that Robert Saleh will be back in the 904, if not today, this week, getting his second interview with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was the head coach of the New York Jets, had a record of 20-36 there. He was fired, I think, after Game 5 of the regular season. To his right, you've got Joe Brady. This is a guy that we know has been heralded since his time at LSU. He was a part of that LSU team with Joe Burrow that won the national title. He went to Carolina. Don't know what happened there, but he's currently offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, and we know what he's done with that team. They're in the AFC Championship game on Sunday, taking on the defending world champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's going to be spectacular. Brian Flores, you can see that he's on the board. Todd Monken, he is the current offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. People in these parts very familiar with him from his time at the University of Georgia. He was the OC when the Bulldogs won back-to-back national titles. Kellen Moore, he had his time in Dallas. He's currently running the offense of the Eagles, who are in the NFC Championship game, taking on the Washington Commanders. And then we got Patrick Graham, who we know that the Jacksonville Jaguars have requested or will be interviewing him in person, and this will be his second interview. Despite all the turmoil that they had out in Las Vegas, did a really good job with their defense. And then finally, Steve Spagnuolo. He is the current defensive coordinator. He's a defensive genius, you can say, and considering what he's done as a defensive coordinator in KC with the Kansas City Chiefs. And as I said, they are trying to do something that no other team in the Super Bowl era has done, and that is win back-to-back Super Bowl championships. But here's the bottom line, folks. Of those candidates, based on, we know that Ben Johnson is in Chicago. He was considered the top guy on that board. Then you have Aaron Glenn. He was up there as well. It's been reported that he's taking the job for the New York Jets. Then you have Cohen. Liam Cohen comes, he interviews. They want him to come back for a second interview. He says, no, thank you. No, thank you. I'm going back to Tampa Bay. So my question to you, Shaz and Ashley, and we'll start with you, Shaz. How bad is it really across the street at Everbank Stadium for a guy to turn down an NFL head coaching job?
It speaks volumes, Chris. This is a league where you don't get opportunities every single day like this one, right? You've got a guy over there, Baker Mayfield. You could compare him to Trevor Lawrence, right? Liam Cohen had the opportunity to come here, make Trevor that guy, make this team that good. They have the pieces, but it speaks volumes to say this guy at his age is like, no, I'm going to stick around where I am because I believe this is the best opportunity. It's intriguing, Chris. Like, there's no answer as to what's going on. It has to be an organization thing. And at this point, it's like, what do you do? Who do you go get, right? Is it you're just, at this point, are you looking for the guy who's going to set that culture? Or are you still going to go for the young OC? Because it seems like these coaches want control. And that's how it's changing. It's no more the Jerry Jones and Shad Khan era where they're going to tell you what to do, who they're going to go get. It's time to give these young minds the control of what they're going to do in these organizations. And as we've seen, it works in places. It's a proven product, and it's starting to be that way. And so now it's like, do you go get the OC, or do you just go get that guy who's going to build that culture, be able to bring the perfect organization together, and move this team together as a whole now? It's not just about the 22 guys on the field. It is about the front office. It is about every single person moving forward. How do we fix this?
Do you guys remember we were all in the room listening to the press conference with Shad Khan and Trent Baalke, and literally we kept making eye contact with each other because we were just confused, a little bit frustrated, and kind of just like shocked, like, wait, what are these guys saying? And honestly, if I'm on the other side watching the Flames on the screen, I don't know if I'd want to be a Jacksonville Jaguar head coach because it doesn't seem like they have a lot of connection there. And then you let go of Doug Peterson, keep Trent, and it's kind of like, well, now I absolutely don't want to be there, especially given no matter how sexy the job title is, you're dealing with guys who don't really know who has control, who you don't really know who's calling the shots. You're not really clear. I mean, if I'm on the other side of that, I'm not sure I want to go to Jacksonville either, honestly. And when you hear that these guys are turning down the Jaguars, honestly, are you really that surprised at this point? You know, I mean, I don't know about you guys.
I do know this. As bad as this organization has been run of late, it's still an NFL job. And when and getting the opportunity to coach at the highest level, the highest professional level, we don't necessarily have to hear from them about how bad the problems are. Coaches just don't turn down jobs like this. And if you are a coach and you have an ego, you have to believe that of the people we saw on the board, and maybe now they may be targeting some guys that some guys that are not one of the 10 that they were targeting from the beginning for this job. You have to believe that they are confident that they can, if Trevor Lawrence physically has all the tools, the makeup of what can be a franchise quarterback, that they can bring in the coaching staff and surround him with some pieces and get it done. But Cohen says, we know the job he's done in his first season as the offensive coordinator with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's done a terrific job. Baker Mayfield threw for 4,500 yards. I mean, he had his best professional season this past year. And I've been seeing reports, Cohen is the leader in the clubhouse. No, sir. But let's recap. If you're just joining us, what's happened today? Within the last hour, we received word the Jacksonville Jaguars parted ways with General Manager Trent Baalke, a guy who has been in charge since November of 2020. Remember, Baalke, originally when he came to Jacksonville, was the director of player personnel. He replaced the fired David Caldwell back at that time. He was also the gentleman paired to work with Urban Meyer back in 2021. We know how that all played out. That is when they drafted Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback, #1 overall. Meyer, one of the few coaches that was fired during the season. Then they went out, and I'll give him some credit. They did try to get a guy who had a winning pedigree, a guy who is a Super Bowl winning coach in Doug Peterson. Peterson saying from the beginning, they were all focused on building around Trevor Lawrence and finally building a consistent winner here. Peterson and Baalke, when asked about, could they work well together? Obviously, the presser, nobody's going to come out, I don't think, in front of reporters and say, no, know they claimed that they could, and we know how that worked out. And then Peterson is fired at the top of this year, and Baalke was attempting to hire his third coach in the last 5 years. And if we can show the statement again that owner Shad Khan released, this is part of the statement that he released in regards to the two sides parting ways. It said, quote, following several discussions with Trent Baalke this week, we both arrived at the conclusion that it is in our mutual best interests to respectfully separate effective immediately. So the question now becomes, will this next head coach, whomever that person is, will he be hired first, or will the new general manager be hired first, and then will he hire the coach, or will the coach be hired first and pick his GM? Here's what I know, and Shaw said it well a few minutes ago. These coaches, they want to have a say in who the general manager is because, folks, I don't know if you know this, but the great organizations are good from top to bottom. Owner, if you have a vice president of football operations, GM, coach, all the way down to the civil engineers over at the stadium. And I think in order for the Jaguars, whether it's one of the guys that we saw on the board or somebody like a Pete Carroll, I'm just throwing names out there, former coaches who have won a Super Bowl, they are going to want to have a say in that process. Now, I'm not going to go down the road and tell you who I wanted because we know Mike Tomlin has already made it clear he's not going anywhere. He's staying in the Steel City. But, guys, very quickly here, I'll start with you. Of the guys, of the folks from the 10 that they have requested, we'll stay focused on that. We can pop them up real quick again, Director Andy. Shaz, let's start with you. Of the guys that are left on the board, because we do know Ben Johnson is off the board, Aaron Glenn is off the board, well, Cohen is off the board, Salah's still there, Patrick Graham is still there, and I'm just naming the guys that they requested to interview. Who do you like? Go, Shaz.
So at this point, I want somebody that's going to come in here and build that culture, right? Screw the offensive-minded coach, screw all that. These guys need that push, and I like Todd Monken, right? He is with the Ravens. They know what they're doing. I know Trevor's not as mobile as Lamar. You don't have Derrick Henry in the backfield, but they have also made Lamar thrive in that offense the last few years. You come here with a guy that Trevor, you can do that, and I feel like Todd has the mentality. Yes, he's a little older, but you want a little of that culture. You want a little bit of that push. I heard something Ben Johnson say with the Bears. He said you have to be uncomfortable to get better. If you're not going to be pushed, then you're not going to get anywhere as players, as an organization, and as a team. So I need somebody who's going to come in here and push the guys forward. Joe Brady's cool. He's got the offensive-minded coach, but I just want somebody a little more experienced at this point that's going to push these guys to their limits and not be soft. Oh, Trevor, yes, you're our guy. We're going to do this and that for you. But no, put him in uncomfortable situations. Make him work hard and make him get better. That's the only way this place is going to improve, Chris.
So did you call? I might have missed it. Who on the list you want that's left? If you could, if you were the Shad Khan, who on that list? Who you picking, Shad?
I'm taking Todd.
All right, Ashley, make your case.
I think I'm also taking Todd only because, like you said, as far as the offense, we're offensive driven. Trevor Lawrence has all of the weapons. We've been saying this even back when with the Calvin Ridley obviously is not with us anymore. But when we have these weapons and Trevor is on, he is on. We have Evan Ingram hopefully when he comes back healthy, Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr., ladies and gentlemen. That is the bright spot of the Jaguars right now. We need to use what we have and let's put some points on the board. Por favor. Can we please score some touchdowns? And I think with an offensive heavy guy, we're going to be able to hopefully do that. You know what? This is what we would like. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but we need to see some points on the board. Am I right or am I left? Let's score some touchdowns. We have the guys. Let's go ahead and do it.
All right, so you both of these guys going with Todd Monken on the board.
What about you, Chris?
For me, and thank you guys for joining me. For me, I'm going with Robert Saleh. While his record was not great in New York, the biggest Achilles heel, I believe, for the Jacksonville Jaguars has been that defense. It has been atrocious. It was atrocious this year. It was bad yet last year, but it was even worse this year. I also like the fact that he has ties to the River City. He's familiar with that organization. And I believe that the Jets gave him a raw deal and got rid of him too soon. I also know, based on what I've seen from the back-to-back world champion Kansas City Chiefs, a great defense, and your quarterback making plays in key moments. That is the key. I love offense. I do want more offense. Offense sell tickets. I'm with you on that, Ashley. But I also know, too, Patrick Mahomes has proven the last 2 years that as long as you're in position when it matters most, and you make the play when it matters most, you could be like them, 16-1 heading into, they're more than 16-1 now. They're 17-1 going into the AFC Championship game. But I'm a defensive guy. I'm going to go with Robert Saleh. Again, Ashley, thank you. Shaz, thank you for joining us, guys. We're going to continue to follow this. The big news of the day, the Jacksonville Jaguars and General Manager Trent Baalke have mutually agreed to part ways. So now the Jags are not only looking for a head coach, but they're also looking for a general manager. We will stay on top of this, and we'll just see. I mean, it's been a roller coaster of a ride. We've had some ups, we've had some downs, we've had some situations where we're like, oh, where did this come from? Is anyone surprised that Shad Khan fired Baalke with 1 year remaining on his contract? No, we're just surprised at how long it took him. So continue to follow us, and hope you enjoy Porter's Place.